Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I want you to know that you are going to make it. Today, we are starting a new series. I want to get into some books because I love to read, I love knowledge, and I love to break down some books. This book right here absolutely changed my life. This is 7 Wrong Relationships by Jonathan Shuttlesworth. We're going to get into it, but before we do, today I am rocking my Run to JC hoodie. If you like this design, you could pick yours up at threadsthattestify.com. I believe I have most sizes in stock, but for this hoodie and for anything else on the website, if you go there and it's out of stock, please use the notification feature. You could put in your email, notify when back in stock. Whenever I restock, you'll get a notification. You could pick it up, and you could also pick up this book. I cannot even express how excited I am for this book because this is something that I feel people don't talk about, especially Christians, which is kind of crazy because this is such a big part of your life. Beyond the Bible and beyond having a relationship with God, which is paramount, you know, it's almost like your life is in tiers. Tiers is in ranks. So this top rank, the most important thing is obviously walking with the Lord. But the people that you have in your life can absolutely determine the outcome of your life. And that's something that a lot of people just never talk about. If you are interested in picking up this book, because I'm just going to be talking about some of the highlights, if you don't have it, you're going to be missing out on a ton of crucial information. It is available on Amazon on Kindle Unlimited for $0, or you can buy it on Kindle like I did for $5. And if you're old school like me and have paperback books, love paperback books. I actually think this is like the only book that I have on Kindle. I have a handful of them. I love paperback because you could just flip through and find what you like and highlight and go back, and it's not just a single page. But they have it in paperback on Amazon. At this time, it is $17.64. I also am going to work on getting this book as well as some other books in my store because it is a clothing brand, yes, but I also have books. I currently have The Believer's Authority by Kenneth Hagin, which we are going to get into. That's an exceptional book as well. If at some point in the future you're watching this and this is available in my store, I will have it in the description down below as well as in the card. Pick it up from my store. I want to get books and get good information to the people. And I also love doing giveaways. Follow at Threads That Testify on all socials. I also have a YouTube channel, but I primarily post on Facebook and Instagram. I will be posting giveaways. You have the opportunity to get free stuff, free clothing, as well as free knowledge. Free books. Let's start with checking out the back cover. I love the back. It gives a very brief but accurate synopsis of what this book is about. We start off with a quote from Matthew 10:16, which funnily enough, I've never heard before I was at Revival Today Church. I never heard this, was never taught this. If you saw my personal testimony, I grew up in the church, got saved at 4, got baptized at 4, and was in the church 30 years. Tell me why I never knew this verse. Tell me why nobody ever taught me this. Matthew 10:16, this is the New Living Translation. Look, I am sending you out as sheep among wolves. So be as shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves. Oh, that is so good. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples. He's warning them. I always heard the turn the other cheek. And if you're like me and you grew up, I don't know, I'd say this whole generation, if you're in the ballpark of like 25 to 45 years old or so, more than likely you heard the same things that I did growing up. It's like this entire generation was just soft, weak Christianity, I guess, is the best way I could put it.
Do no harm. You have no boldness. Don't hurt anybody. Love everybody.
That's where a lot of people get off. They take verses out of context and then they twist them. They'll take a verse that talks about loving one another and then they make that the whole Bible. But no, this book has 66 books. And what does it tell us? All scripture is God-breathed, right? All of it, all 66 books. A lot of times people just want to take the 4 gospels and they kind of twist what the new covenant says, then they miss a whole lot of stuff, and that's why they struggle. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I could get on that track for a while. This is the first time I ever heard it preached like this. Jesus is warning his disciples, be as shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves. Yes, that means don't go out there raising hell for people. Don't go out there trying to make people have problems. Don't be a troublemaker. But what's the first part of that? Be as shrewd as snakes. That means have some discernment, have some common sense. There's just something about Christians in general. And when I say Christians in this context, I'm talking about like how I grew up. You're weak, loving Christians, and obviously we should love people. I get that. But there was no power. There was no wisdom. There was no discernment. When you think of a businessman, I think of somebody who is sharp, somebody who's witty, somebody who knows how to work the market. You think about banks. How do banks make their money? They take your $10 and do they keep it in the bank for you and do they hold it? No. They take it and they invest it and then they go and make 12%. I don't know anything about percentage rates, right? But they're making more percentage than they're charging you. So they'll go out and they'll make 10%, 12% or whatever on your money. And then you come back to,
oh, here you go. You got 0.001%.
it's funny. Every month I get my bank statement. Interest. 0.01. Oh, great. I made a penny on the money that I had in the bank. And if I'm really lucky, I'll make 3 pennies. Why? Because banks are shrewd, because they're wise. I grew up in a generation where to be Christian, it's almost like you had to be stupid. You almost had to be weak and passive and unwise in like everything, which is crazy. That's all I'm going to say about that. We got a lot to get to. So continuing on, the devil can't destroy the life of a born again believer. This is obviously Pastor Jonathan speaking. Still, he will send destructive people to frustrate and neutralize a believer's effectiveness. I can testify to that because the word tells us when we are in Christ, Satan loses his hold on us. He loses that dominion over us. We don't belong to him anymore. We're not in his kingdom. We're not in the kingdom of the world. We are in God's kingdom. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He is a wicked devil. And I've always heard it preached like he's just a mean guy.
Well, you know, the devil doesn't want me to succeed. He's trying to keep me down.
No, he's wicked. He's trying to destroy your life and the life of your family and the life of your kids. Since he can't do that directly, he could only do that through other means. So, as this book's going to talk about, he uses other people to do that. He also can use you to do that. Some people destroy their own lives because they have doubt, because they have insecurity, because they have a whole list of things. That's a whole other topic. This idea that everybody comes into your life for a reason is crazy. If anything, if there's some toxic person in your life, at the very best, it's like an example of how not to be. There's this idea in modern Christianity, and it is not Christian whatsoever. I don't know when it happened or where it came from, but it's almost like modern Christianity has the whole hippies movement from the 60s, like that hippie ideology mixed in with it, and it messes people's faith up real bad. This idea that like nothing could go wrong, that God is sovereign and we can't screw up our life, it's crazy. Samson messed up his life. It was not God's will for Samson to struggle like he did. And you could go all through the Bible. There's a lot of people. Israel.
We want a king.
No, I am your king.
We want a king.
No, I am your king. And we see that. Israel finally got their king and they would fall. Then they'd get close to the Lord and they'd repent and then they'd fall back and forth. That is not God's will. God's will, his word tells us what his will is. His will is for us to go up and up, higher and higher, and closer to him, walking in victory every step of the way. And that's just, again, totally opposite from what I was taught growing up in church for 30 years. Continuing on, I'm loving this book, but man, this is like hitting me in my spirit. Evangelist and pastor, he is both. He has his evangelistic ministry and he recently started Revival Today Church in Pittsburgh, January of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And they started another campus in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I think it's Watauga, Texas, July, something like that. I think he announced it in July. It actually launched in August, November. It's been a whirlwind. This is when he launched it. So if you're in any of those areas, I definitely recommend checking it out. Pastor Jonathan Shuttlesworth identifies 7 wrong relationships that every believer needs to recognize and eliminate. The one who usurps your authority, the one that steals your peace, the one that steals your joy, the one that feeds your carnal. Oh man, the one that feeds your carnal nature. That is good.
Hey man, we're going to the club. You want to come with?
No.
Hey, we're going to have some bottles.
No, if you don't cut those people out, man, you're going to have a rough life. The one that mocks your faith, the one that blocks your advancement, those haters, man, those haters, got to cut them out. And the one that is a third voice in your marriage.
Boom.
That's a good one. That's such a good one. I see that so often, whether it's a mother-in-law, a friend, a coworker. That's so huge. Always that third voice. What happened in the garden? Adam and Eve were having a good time. Then what? A third voice appeared.
Did God say?
It's the same thing with your marriage. Did he do? Did he say? Where is he? Did he didn't hold the door for you, did he? I've seen that. That's for another video. Don't coddle the people who fit into these descriptions. This book shows how to take authority and realize dominion over your life. You can live shrewd as a snake while harmless as a dove. That is so good. And I love that they tie that back in to shrewd as a snake, harmless as a dove, because like I said, so many people are not shrewd at all, at all, at all. If you don't recognize these toxic people and cut them out, or at least deal with them at an appropriate level in an appropriate way, you are going to have a rough life. In fact, I'd be as bold as to say you are not going to carry out God's call on your life, because there are people who will hold you back. And actually, if you look into like a romantic relationship, if that person is not running in lockstep alongside you, headed to the Lord, you can't. It doesn't work. It simply does not work. And the same goes beyond a romantic relationship to everything else, to all these other relationships and these other people. If you don't have people supporting you, you're going to be in trouble. That doesn't mean you can't talk to somebody. That doesn't mean you can't witness to somebody. That's not what that's talking about. But if you say go to work and every day there's somebody nagging you, cut that out, man. Don't go to the lunchroom. If that nag is there and they're causing problems, don't go there. You have to cut that out. I had a job. It only lasted 10 days because I was like, I need a job, and I couldn't do it. It was such a toxic work environment. But the guys at that job talking about worldly things, talking about women inappropriately, cussing, all that. And it's like, I didn't like it and it irritated me and I couldn't stand it. So I removed myself from that situation. This is a quote from Pastor Jonathan in the book. We're getting into the introduction. There are people who the devil has sent to destroy you. You must possess a thought process that says, I have dominion, particularly in the realm of my own life. My life will not be determined by other people. My life will be determined by the decisions I make. Nailed it. Could not agree more. How many people blame somebody else for why they are the way they are or where they are in life? There are entire movements based on this, based on race, sex, your income, whatever. I'm not saying there aren't any struggles, but if you have that victim mentality, you'll never succeed. You'll never be victorious. If you have this idea that you are where you are because of the people who are in your life, my mom did this, my dad wasn't there for me, whatever it is, this person always was trying to keep me down. Okay, you'll never succeed. It's funny because especially if you watch like an older movie, sometimes people talking about the man's going to keep us down. The man. I'm not saying there aren't things against people, but you cannot have that mindset. You have to rise above that. You have to say, I know who I am in the Lord. I know what he has for me, and I am going to conquer all. I am going to walk my life out. I am going to become successful. I am going to have a healthy marriage. I'm going to have a good relationship with my children. Whatever it is, you cannot let other people determine your life, and you cannot make excuses for why your life is the way it is. Your life, when it comes down to it, I know this doesn't get said much. At the end of the day, your life is the way it is because of you, because of decisions you've made, jobs you've taken, places you've gone, places you haven't gone, the church you chose to be in. As I said, I didn't know any better. I was in a church that didn't teach half of the stuff that I'm being taught now. Didn't teach the word. This whole word, very light on it. And there was no power behind it. It didn't hit me in my spirit. It didn't teach me anything. But I'm not sitting here, oh, well, I could have been a stronger Christian. I could have had a better life if only I had known. No, I'm like, oh, okay, now I realize, hey, let me warn other people. And I'm going higher. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have a happy life. I'm going to have a successful, blessed, happy marriage. I'm going to raise my kids right. I hate that when people talk about how their wife is. That's all I heard.
Wait till you get married, Mike. Wait till you get married. You'll see. You think being married's fun. You think it's good. You'll see.
What the crap is that? People say the same thing about their kids. Wait till your daughter becomes a teenager. She'll be all over the place. Wait till your kids are out of the house. They're gonna go off. No, not my kids. Maybe your kids, not my kids. Heck no.
Hell no.
Absolutely not. The Bible says what I have. This book here, and this is where people miss it because they don't get into this and they don't know what it says. This has everything that the Lord has for me. This is the key. You saw my personal testimony. This is the key. Such a good quote. Dr. Mike Murdoch, who is a very wise man, says, whatever you don't protect, you lose. And we see that. We see that in the physical world where people are robbing stores left and right. You see that in relationships, friendships. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your own person, your own life, and the relationships of those around you. Just an example. If I'm out somewhere with my wife and a guy calls her a slob, a fat pig, some other cuss word, whatever, it's my duty as a man to stand up for my woman. I'm not just going to go,
Oh, well, honey, put on a couple pounds. He's kind of right.
No, you kidding me? I mean, there are people like that who are weak and spineless. But no, if I'm going to be a man, if I'm going to be a real man, a good husband, I'm going to defend my wife. Same for my kids. I'm not going to let somebody pick on my kid. I'm not going to let somebody bully my kid, call him stupid. I swear to goodness, if somebody called my kid stupid, I'd catch a case, man. I would catch a case. You have to protect what you have. If you don't protect it, you will lose it. People aren't taught that. That was just the intro. Chapter 1, you have to realize that there are people who will try to usurp your authority. There are people who will just try to come in, it's not their place, and they will try to exalt themselves over top of you. If there is somebody in a legitimate position of authority above you, that's not what I'm talking about at all. You have to know your place and your authority. You have to know if somebody's over you. But there are people who have no business telling you what to do or how to do a thing, who will come in and try to overrun that thing. Cut them out, because Satan said that to God, no?
I will ascend and be the Most High.
And then what? He was cast out of heaven like lightning. Boom, down. Why? Because he tried to usurp God's authority. Don't let anyone usurp your authority. In the military, you have rank, right? And it's understood that if somebody is in a higher rank than you, you have no authority over them. You can't tell them what to do. You can't suggest what they do. The military works the way it does because you have clear leadership. Whether you agree with them or not, whether they're leading effectively or not, whether you think they're doing a good job or they suck, maybe they don't know what they're doing. I've had supervisors who literally did not know the job, did not know what they were doing. The guy did not know any of the processes. He was a terrible leader. He was always trying to talk to the girls, talk about toxic people. Man was divorced, 40-something, trying to talk to 20-year-old girls, right? But whoever is in charge, you have to respect their rank. You have to respect their position and their authority. In basic training, they tell you how to come under authority of one person. You have your MTI, or your training instructor, right? He's the actual instructor, the trainer. Everybody's under him, but his job is to train everybody else how to follow one person. That's why they put other people in charge, because one of the first things that pops up is people don't like that. People aren't used to that. They're not used to being led by somebody else. Regardless of whether you agree with somebody or not, you have to respect their authority. And it's kind of crazy. There was a situation where I was at a place and there was a leader in this place. I'll put it this way. I'm trying to be vague because I'm not here to name drop. I'm not here to embarrass anybody. I'm not here to call people out. But I was at a place, an establishment, a building, and there was a leader at that place, and he wanted to close his place down. There was somebody else who rose up and wrote a scathing email telling him what to do. Now, whether or not that person was right or wrong factually in what they were saying, to me, that's not even the issue. It was not his place to try and rise up and tell the leader what to do. He didn't understand his place, right? That's important. So far, I've been speaking about this in kind of the flip side, right? Where you have to recognize somebody else's authority and give them respect and respect their place. That is on point. That is true. However, the same applies for you. If you are in a position of authority, you need to understand that authority and walk in that authority. And that's where a lot of people mess up. You cannot have other people trying to usurp your authority. You cannot have other voices come in and try to tell you what to do. You cannot have other people come in and tell you how to run your business, how to run your ministry, how to live your life. Because people, this is where people miss it. And then that's why they get co-opted and they get taken over. I'm running my business how the Lord is calling me to run my business. If I have some random boob pop up and they're trying to tell me how I need to run my business, I'm not talking about a millionaire. I'm not talking about somebody more experienced. I'm talking about some random person. Well, you know, you shouldn't talk about that Jesus all the time. No, I'm not listening to you. Bye. I've had people do that. Like I said, my mom and I had an ice cream shop, right? We had Jesus shirts on the wall. We were playing worship music. It was a nice place to be. Not everybody liked that. I kind of didn't care if people didn't like that. But don't let anybody come in and tell you, well, you know, you need to not do that. Who are you? I don't know you. And I can't see what you've done. What have you done? Who are you? Bye. If you don't get that under control, and if you let people continually usurp your authority, you will be a nobody. And I'm not saying that to be harsh or rude or crass. You will never amount to anything because other people are always trying to keep you down. You got to recognize those toxic people and cut them out. And it sucks because a lot of times times they're friends. A lot of times they're people that you grew up with or that you knew. And I've had that happen to me several times. People that I never had an issue with, people that I like, people who have been supportive. Then they don't like the church that I go to, or they don't like that I say this, or they don't like that I do that or don't do that or whatever it is. And then it's like, I don't know if they turn or what, or they feel it's their place to come and try and tell me how to do things. And it's like, listen, I don't want it to be like that, but I can't deal with this. I am not under your authority. I do not work for you. You are not my parent. You're not my father. You're not my mother. I don't want to cut you out, but if you're going to go that route, you're making that decision, not me. And like I said, that is something that I never really knew, because I wasn't taught that, how to have authority, or that we're supposed to walk in authority. And going back to Matthew 10:16, shrewd as snakes, harmless as doves, never taught that. So that is the synopsis of chapter 1. Do not let anyone usurp your authority when they are in a lower position than you. Chapter 2, I believe, gets into peace. That's going to be a good chapter too, so be sure to check that out. I want to thank you guys for watching, and never forget, the Lord loves you, and you are going to make it.